Have you ever heard your heart whispering in a voice that was not your own? In 1899, a female doctor discovered a petrified heart that bore her name, and from that moment on, God was no longer a light, but a question that no one dared to answer. It began with a box that should not have existed. Dr. Elisabetta Voss, a rising physician at the Royal Vienna Institute of Pathological Studies, was cataloging archived medical cases when her assistant uncovered a wooden crate sealed with crimson wax. No records matched the item. It bore no return address, only the faint imprint of a broken cross and an old Vatican sigil long since retired. Inside, Elisabetta found something that froze the blood in her veins. A bundle of blackened documents labeled Cor Lapidum, Voss E. Confidential, her own last name. Among the contents, a photo plate of an ancient X-ray showing a female ribcage with a heart made of stone lodged perfectly in the chest cavity. A death certificate dated 1643, the name on it burned out. A surgical diagram signed by someone from the Congregatio de Arcanis, a now defunct sect of the Catholic Church, and a patient ID tag with a faded engraving Eve B. Elisabetta laughed nervously. It had to be a mistake, a prank, some odd coincidence. But as she flipped through the medical notes, her hands began to tremble. The handwriting in the margins, it was hers, her style, her phrasing, written with the same type of fountain pen she'd used since she was 16. And then, the photograph of the stone heart moved, just a flicker, a subtle shimmer across the petrified surface, as if it had breathed under the glass. Startled, she dropped it. The photo cracked. That night she tried to contact the Vatican archive. No response. By morning, the entire file had vanished from her office shelf. Not misplaced, gone, as though it had never been there, but something had remained. A single object sitting silently at the foot of her bed, wrapped in old linen, heavy, cold. When she unwrapped it, her world collapsed into silence. It was the heart, the very same stone heart from the photo. Rough, blackened, shaped like a human organ, with faint red lines running across its surface like dying veins, and it was warm, pulsing, once every 13 seconds. 10 days after the heart appeared at her bedside, Elisabetta found herself standing before the heavy oak door of a small chapel on the outskirts of Lyons. Inside, the air was thick with incense and whispered secrets. Father Lucien Darvaux, a gaunt man with piercing gray eyes, greeted her with a silent nod. "You sought answers," he said, voice barely above a whisper. Elisabetta hesitated, clutching the stone heart hidden beneath her coat. "I don't know what this is, but it's not just a relic, it's alive. It calls to me." Lucien's gaze darkened. "What you carry is no ordinary artifact. It's a remnant of what we call the fifth dimension, a realm beyond our own, where time and reality fracture." He reached into his robes and pulled out a leather-bound book, embossed with cryptic symbols. "This heart," Lucien explained, "belongs to a prophetess who defied the church centuries ago. They called her a heretic because she claimed to have seen the true face of God." Elisabetta's breath hitched. "You are her rebirth. The church fears what you may awaken." He slid a folded letter across the table. "Read this. It's from the Congregatio de Arcanis, a secretive sect tasked with guarding these forbidden truths." Her hands trembled as she unfolded the letter, written in an archaic Latin script. "The stone heart carries within it the power to bridge worlds. To resurrect is to unravel the veil between salvation and damnation. Beware the light that blinds." Suddenly, the chapel windows rattled violently, and an unearthly chill swept through the room. Lucien's eyes darted toward the shadows. "We are not alone," he said grimly. Outside, unseen eyes watched as the first whispers of something ancient and hungry stirred in the darkness. The mountain air was thin and biting as Elisabetta and Father Lucien ascended the craggy path toward Monte Lupo, an abandoned monastery whispered about in fearful legends. Few dared to speak its name, the Valley of Silence. Lucien moved with purpose, the stone heart secured in his satchel. "They say no sound from the valley ever returns," he said, voice low. "Time itself loses meaning there." As they approached the ancient stone gates, the sky darkened unnaturally, and a dense fog curled around the jagged peaks, like fingers trying to grasp at their souls. Suddenly, a suffocating silence enveloped them. No bird sang, no wind stirred. Elisabetta felt at first the faintest of whispers, not in the air, but inside her mind. Listen, listen. Her hand instinctively clutched the stone heart. It pulsed beneath her palm, a slow, irregular beat, as if trying to speak through its icy shell. Lucien held up a candle. Its flame flickered wildly, despite the still air. "Welcome to the threshold," he murmured. Inside the monastery ruins, ancient murals depicted figures with faces obscured by darkness, angelic forms twisted in agony. Among them, a recurring symbol, a shattered heart encased in stone. They followed a narrow corridor, the walls whispering secrets older than memory. The farther they went, the louder the voices became, not spoken aloud, but echoing inside their heads. Elisabetta's vision blurred. She saw flashes, visions of a woman trapped between worlds, her heart bound in stone, screaming silently through centuries. Suddenly, the floor beneath them trembled. A hidden door creaked open, revealing a swirling vortex of shadows and faint luminescent light, the gateway to the Valley of Silence itself. Lucien grasped her arm. "Beyond this gate, reality fractures. We must be prepared for what waits inside, and what might follow us back." Elisabetta swallowed her fear and stepped forward, the stone heart burning cold against her chest as the whispering shadows beckoned them into the unknown. After crossing the threshold into the Valley of Silence, the world around Elisabetta and Lucien shifted. The air thickened, colors drained to muted grays, and time seemed to fold upon itself. The whispers grew louder, forming words only she could understand. That night, Elisabetta lay in a makeshift camp beneath the crumbling arches of the monastery. Sleep came quickly, but with it, a haunting vision. She found herself in a vast, dimly lit chapel. Shadows draped every surface, and an oppressive stillness weighed on her chest. At the altar stood a man bound in heavy chains, his eyes covered by a blindfold of black cloth. Despite his confinement, an eerie light radiated from his palms, pulsing rhythmically. His voice echoed, deep and sorrowful. "I am the light betrayed. They named me God, but none have ever truly seen me." Elisabetta tried to approach, but spectral hands emerged from the darkness, holding her back. Suddenly, the man reached out toward her, and she felt a sharp sting in her chest, like a burning frost. She gasped awake, mouth bleeding, a bitter metallic taste flooding her senses. Across the camp, Lucien was already awake, his eyes fixed on her. "You saw him," he said quietly. "The third man, the one who waits between worlds." Elisabetta's mind reeled. Why is he imprisoned? And what does he want with me? Lucien's face darkened. He is both a prisoner and a key. Freeing him could bring salvation or destruction. We stand at the edge of a choice that has echoed since the beginning of time. Outside, the cold wind howled through the broken windows, carrying voices, some pleading, others warning. The valley was awakening. The night air was thick with an unnatural stillness as Elisabetta and Father Lucien prepared for the ritual known as the Silent Easter. This ancient rite, whispered about in forbidden texts, was said to have the power to awaken the lifeless heart, bridging the divide between worlds. Candles flickered weakly in the crumbling chapel, their flames struggling against the suffocating darkness that seeped from the monastery's stone walls. Shadows writhed like living things, twisting and contorting in the dim light. Elisabetta knelt at the altar, clutching the stone heart tightly. She could feel it pulse faintly, a slow, erratic beat that seemed to synchronize with her own racing pulse. Lucien intoned the ancient prayers in a tongue older than memory, his voice trembling but resolute. Suddenly, the candles extinguished simultaneously. The room plunged into complete darkness, save for a cold, ethereal glow emanating from the heart itself. From the blackness, a massive, elongated hand emerged, its skin pale and translucent, fingers stretching far longer than any human's, curling around Lucien's throat. His prayers choked off as he gasped for air. The unseen presence whispered, voice like shattered glass, "You think you bring salvation, but you have only unlocked the door." Elisabetta screamed, the stone heart burning through her gloves. The pulse quickened, the glow intensifying until a deafening silence swallowed the chapel. When the candles reignited moments later, Lucien collapsed to the floor, pale and gasping. The hand was gone. Outside, the wind roared like a beast unleashed. Elisabetta realized then that some doors, once opened, could never be closed. Lucian sat by the dying fire, his eyes shadowed and distant. The events at Montelupo had left him shaken, but what he was about to reveal to Elisabetta weighed heavier than any fear. "There is a truth hidden from the faithful," he began, voice low. "The entity mankind calls God is not singular. Dominion, the name given to the being tied to that heart, is but one face among many." Elisabetta's breath caught. "What do you mean? You speak of heresy." Lucian shook his head. "Not heresy, but revelation. Dominion exists in a realm beyond human comprehension, a dimension where gods are copies, echoes of a lost original. To awaken that stone heart is to invite dominion into our world." He paused, staring into the flickering flames. "And dominion's presence here, it could bring salvation or annihilation." Elisabetta's fingers traced the faint outline of the heart beneath her cloak. A sudden chill coursed through her. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you are the catalyst of rebirth of the prophetess, who once dared to see dominion's true face. Your heart carries the key, but every key can open a door, or a cage." Outside, shadows lengthened, and unseen eyes watched their every move. A thick, oppressive fog cloaked the streets as Elisabetta opened the mysterious letter she had received. Its parchment brittle, ink dark as spilled blood. The sender, the Black Jerusalem, a shadowed city, whispered to exist between reality and nightmare. The letter bore a stark warning. "Destroy the stone heart before the 24th night of December, lest the one with the mask of light be born. The fate of worlds hangs in the balance. Trust no one, not even those who claim to save you. Fear not." At Elisabetta's resolve. Was this another trap? A prophecy or a call to arms? Lucian entered quietly, his expression grave as he read the letter over her shoulder. "The Black Jerusalem, a place where faith and darkness intertwine," he murmured. "If this is true, the danger is closer than we feared." Doubt began to seep into their fragile alliance. Who could be trusted? The Vatican, the sect? Or was the true enemy the light itself, disguised, patient, and waiting? That night, as the wind howled through the empty streets, Elisabetta clutched the stone heart tighter, the pulsing growing erratic, and somewhere in the shadows a presence smiled. Midnight cloaked the monastery in impenetrable darkness. The air was thick with anticipation and dread as Elisabetta stood alone in the ruined chapel, the stone heart cradled in her hands. A sudden, violent shatter pierced the silence. The heart fractured into countless gleaming shards, scattering like frozen tears across the ancient floor. From the swirling shards, a figure emerged, tall and gaunt, his flesh translucent and eyes vacant voids. He bore no face, yet an unbearable light radiated from his chest, illuminating the darkness like a dying star. "The Nameless One?" Lucian's voice cracked in terror. "He is not God, but a shadow of what should never have been." The entity moved forward, limbs bending unnaturally, its whispering voice a shattered symphony. "You sought to awaken salvation, but you have unleashed the forgotten." The chapel erupted in spectral flames, consuming all but Elisabetta and Lucian, who clung to each other amidst the inferno. As the fire dimmed, the Nameless One's hollow gaze fixed upon Elisabetta. "Your choice begins now." Elisabetta awoke in a place where the sky was neither day nor night, a vast expanse of shifting shadows and light. Time dissolved into nothingness, and her body felt weightless yet bound. Before her stood Dominion, the faceless child of light, his form shimmering, both innocent and terrifying. He spoke without words, a voice echoing in her mind. "If you can love, you can forgive. But if you forgive, you will forget me. What will you choose?" Elisabetta's heart, once stone, now beat with clarity. Her voice trembled as she answered, "I choose to remember, even if the memory burns." With her words, the realm fractured. Memories long buried surged through her: pain, loss, hope, and the eternal struggle between light and shadow. She realized her destiny was not to erase the past, but to carry its burden to become the bridge between worlds. Elisabetta awoke beneath a pale dawn, in a world both familiar and strange. The faces around her were strangers, their eyes reflecting confusion and awe. On her chest, a crimson cross glowed faintly, a mark that pulsed with quiet life. From within her, a voice echoed, soft yet resolute, "I am here." And now, I listen. The villagers gathered, drawn to the miracle of the woman who bore the living heart. Elisabetta became a healer of lost souls, a beacon in a fractured world. But with each soul she mended, a part of the light inside her dimmed sometimes. When she looked into the mirror, the eyes staring back were not entirely her own. The stone heart had been reborn, alive, speaking, and bound forever to the eternal question: who truly holds the power to awaken the heart? The light, the darkness, or the fragile human soul in between? Are you ready to face the truth hidden beyond the veil? Step into a world where hearts turn to stone and gods wear masks. Will you dare to listen when the stone heart begins to speak? Join Elisabetta's journey where salvation and doom walk hand in hand. Because sometimes, the greatest power lies not in light or darkness, but in the choice we make between them. Unlock the mystery, embrace the shadows, awaken your heart,